get some assists, but so far, a very clean hold from the defense right now. A is completely swarmed by the defense. They've held all angles. And this is the strategy you oftentimes see on the first couple points. If it works, you can hold them at the very first point. The key to it is not body stacking on the point. It's separating and picking up players on the attack on spawn, making sure they don't have a large group of numbers all working together, making one coordinated push. If you can keep them on their back foot, keep them separated, absolutely could hold here on the very first point, which would be a huge win for the defense.
All right, well, we're going up the top, and we immediately pick 2, and Canyon kind of regrets that peak, but it looked good for just a moment. Reinforcements coming that way. Now, if we can filter our way past the cement truck, over top of the wood pile, we're just trying to take these head peeks and really work towards A if we can through these angles, but it's been incredibly difficult because you're right, the defense has been so powerful. Now that we're looking less than 75 tickets, how are we going to turn this around?
Yeah, it's going to be, we're going to turn it around by taking down Q-Pitch right here. Absolutely frying SMG, AR, pistol. Doesn't matter what he's got. Q-Pitch going crazy. Good call out top of show, Tiff. Great player, but a new tank is on the board, and Westa immediately gets into the mix, trying to open up the point. Decent move. Here's the problem. If you just go swarming to the point immediately, trying to open up for the team, you're going to lose that vehicle nearly immediately as well. This is not pubs, folks. This is coordinated esports effort, and because of that, these vehicles will not last long if you get too close to the point. The defense has set up near flawlessly thus far, and they've just got to do it for probably only a couple minutes more, and they're going to win on the very first point.
Oh, breaking out the signal decoder and just trying to get closer if we can. M14 in hand, and you saw some nice pepperings and a couple angles, but we haven't really been able to get the fulls of the Dana knife. Just trying to finish it off, but can't do it. But the pressure from behind, check out that dive to the flick around. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, defense is doing everything right here. They're finally, even if they do lose the point here, this is such a victory for the defense to be able to hold for this long. Finally exchanging hands, only for the second time in this entire game do we see red on point A. And they've got a vehicle there again. Not a tank, but a vehicle nonetheless. And with that transport there, they lose it quickly. AT4s in hand. The defense making one final effort to hold and win the game on point A. And they might be doing it. Look at this defense push. They're picking up doubles and triples just about on every single player. All of a sudden, there's more green than red on the point. This is almost a stalemate, but I think the defense is winning this fight.
All I see is Heisen, John DeBomb going crazy, and Vabatrow falls, the last member of Toxic Team. We'll see them kind of get respawned shortly, which honestly, when you think back to Season 1, they were on that losing side of things, so they do not want to lose here in Season 2. It's a redemption run for them as we see that tank just on the inside. Here come the missiles looking to put that pressure on the vehicles. You mentioned vehicle warfare, but we're trying to deny that, especially when you have to thread through these wooden structures. It can be really difficult. It's more just a kind of a nuisance at that point.
Yeah, honestly, I just think this is another mistake. I mean, we've got the tank. Now, at this point, when you've got a tank, sure, you've got 10 lives remaining, you got to get onto the point. The problem is we just wasted 2 full tanks before this by swarming the point. And we could have played patient, made a coordinated push, and then be able to push onto this point. Right now, defense has entire control over the point. 1-2 lives remaining. That's going to be it for the very first game. Unbelievable hold from the defense. Absolutely phenomenal work, being able to push down tanks. Listen, this is what it takes. When it comes down to strategy, it's really as simple as this, especially on Trainwreck. Vehicles are going to be everything. So if your opponents are misusing their vehicles or just getting a hair too aggressive and making it more of a coin flip, you better make sure that coin, it lands on the heads or the tails that you want to win this game. That's exactly what happened that game. Respawn timer is a little bit longer in Victory Unite, so I'm impressed with these numbers. Also, 25 kills from Canyon. That's a fantastic number, considering the game got stifled on point 1A, the first point of the game. Crazy.
Yeah, this is pretty stellar, because if you look at that roster, Canyon, Q-Pitch, Crazer, and even down below, Click, that's that Neffel safe, right? Formerly known as Full Safe. We told you about those changes that they made to their roster at the top of the show here, but what you can see is how really balanced that roster is. Of course, you've got your heavy fraggers in the terms of Canyon, Q-Pitch, and Crazer, but they also are getting a large amount of they'll make that call out. So I can only imagine we'll be able to get a couple of kills out of.
Yeah, and it's all about the respawn beacon play. You saw how many, it looks like Axantee was able to push all the way up and place one pretty deep into enemy territory for the defensive side. Pretty good strategy to make sure they can get bodies there as needed. Get bodies on the point quickly from a different angle. But slowly but surely, I think, based again on the comms I saw from the attack, this is a patient game. We don't need to play super aggressive. We need to look for openings, and we need to make sure the same thing doesn't happen to us the way it happened to our opponents just a moment ago. And so you can see the difference. Look at the slow play here from our tank operator off in the distance, just providing some covering fire, trying to blow some walls down the front, which I believe he might have already done to make sure this point's a little bit easier to access.
I'm all about that, but onward, Vazia immediately diving for cover. It's all about, if you're going to be Stinger, you are a battle medic, which is great, right? But you're also a self-healing extraordinaire, so why not drop onto the ATV, reposition yourself, and keep that pressure on, especially if you're looking for some of these cheeky angles. Go behind enemy lines. Flanking is imperative to take everyone by storm, especially though they'll make that call out, so I can only imagine we'll be able to get a couple of kills out of this. But looking to the hills, you see the player peek just closer, unfortunately on their left, and will be cut down.
Yeah, trading of blows here, but already some action on point A. As Funky and co are on the point, battling for a hold here. You can see on the left-hand side, this is a commander issuing an order. This is gonna, obviously, if you're able to secure this, you're gonna get extra points for your team to be able to use your support systems. But already the attack making nice headway on the point. Defense, a nice counterattack though. They've opened things back up because our tank is not playing extremely aggressive. There's a little bit more room to work with on this point. The defense is able to get there faster.
I mean, you think about the differences that we saw comparatively to game 1 and game number 2. Where was that vehicle in game 1? It was inside of A, trying their best to survive. But when you have a slew of engineers ready to completely combat that and rip it down, of course you want to be more conservative with your tank. Maybe use that long to mid-range. And here we go, boy, hitting the res, preserving those tickets, and getting the teams back on their feet. And do I see a John DeBomb in the vehicle? Because that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, John DeBomb in the tank playing the backline support. He's opened things up pretty dramatically for his team. They're able to get back on the point yet again. They've also got a transport vehicle that is swarming the point. This one we can give away for free as needed, comparatively to our tank. Tank playing backup. Here's a look at it. On the back line, shelling down into the point, at least getting some folks weak, if not a couple kills left, right, and center. You can see kills coming through. You also see Slicks in the tank picking up some kills as well. So far, so good. Heisen, our commander, I think, in that transport vehicle, getting active on the point. The attack have a nice push right now, and I think John DeBomb's plan is to try to bring down some of these defensive players that are running towards the point, less shelling the point. We got to weed out those numbers so my people on the point can actually win their fights.
Well, back on board, Polska Gurum here. Mind you, they were on the losing side on game number 1, and they just have to get A here to tie it up. So Zerf says, that's fine. I'll get active, dive straight in. It doesn't even matter. It will even preserve, get our team back up, and Popodi is going to come back in. Commander for the team here on your screen. But I love this. That's how you gotta do it. Just be aggressive. Use that cover naturally. And even with the pistol fight, the reload coming in, I thought he was going to be able to save that.
Yeah, unfortunately it goes down, and that is a successful A capture. That is not the tournament. We're not done yet, but that does mean our attacking team right now, which is Team Bravo, will win the tiebreaker, even if they don't win this entire map. But this is obviously the furthest we've gotten this map thus far. And again, I think it's a really well-coordinated effort from the side of Team Bravo. As they're on an attack right now, they're in final form, but basically only down 7 tickets from start, right? We started at 180, they lost about 60, they gained back about 50. Very well done so far. Now it's about controlling this high ground position on the hill, be able to push back the attack, try to weed out their numbers, and make sure they don't have a continual momentum push on to B. Not an insanely difficult point to grab, especially if you have momentum. You see the vehicles getting involved in the backline, should open things up a little bit. But if you get stifled here, there is a decent chance the game could end on B. The point is underneath the bridge, and so depending on the way the defense sets up, if they're able to kind of stifle this momentum, slow things down, and get fully set up, it actually can be decently difficult to take. So we'll see what they're able to do here.
Will be tough. I I mean, look, initially, once they unlocked B, you saw what the vehicles did do. They split to the opposing side. You have Yellow Love and John DeBomb just ahead of Volkswagen here, and thankfully, we are investing as much of this damage as we can. And quite frankly, we're open here, but no one's going to be able to destroy him just yet. He's using that natural terrain just ahead of B for that cover, and honestly, a near miss. Because I will say, John DeBomb is one of the most evasive vehicle drivers when it comes to warfare, and the pocket engineers are already there.
Yeah, I think that's such a key call out. If you haven't watched a coordinated warfare tournament, engineers are everything. Tanks, vehicle warfare, obviously a big key factor in success, but the vehicle warfare just doesn't exist without the engineers. Keeping that thing alive constantly, having the pocket engineers changes the game entirely. One of the things I'm noticing, less pocket engineers even, and more coordinated effort. I think the defense right now struggling to coordinate with their missile attacks. You can have all the engineers you want, but if you got 5 AT4s all firing around the same time at the tank, that thing is going down. And that's what happened in the last one, mostly because the tank was somewhat out of position, was easier to target, but even still, it seems like they just can't quite get their footing here on the defensive side. And I think it's just a matter of time before they get broken wide open on B as well.
Well, I love that we're already making these changes, these adaptations here, especially on Polska Guram here. The Shepherds, right? You want to bring out those sonic traps, the frag grenades, anything that you can. They're already working to rip apart the vehicles and stop these pushes that you were talking about. So seeing them adapt quickly, it's going to need to happen. However, when you have John DeBomb, who's constantly lighting up that kill feed, just being an absolute nuisance, it's going to make things more difficult for the other side. And you can see it, the entrance right here on the bottom left, just full sending in. Heisen, the captain, the commander-in-chief, right there alongside them.
Resek lah.
So far, so good. John DeBomb getting pretty active on the point this time. He's got his engineers, recognizes it's not a coordinated effort. A couple missiles striking, looking decently low, but engineers going to keep him up, like you said. It's a great effort from Turbo. He just needs more help. We need more people, and they finally get it down. The tank is down from what I saw. Heisen down as well. John DeBomb killed. This could be an opening that the defense needs. The problem is, it's just too little too late. We're already moving into points C1 and C2. And here's the thing, Tiff. Yes, we lost the tank, but we've absolutely earned enough score to call in another one. I think that was a nice strategic call from John to say, we can sacrifice this vehicle because I can get another one right after this, especially if it lets us capture this point.
Yeah, I think that's just absolutely the move there. You can see Slick center of your screen making a move, and it's Heisen, right? Our commander. He's got that nice logo on top of him so you can keep tabs on him in the free cam all the way out towards the right. Now, the biggest important thing is going to make sure that you've got all the information necessary for these coordinated pushes. So diving on board, Q-Pitch first to go down. Canyon trying to hold it together. 5 HP, gonna fall. Fraser, team, looking for the angles. That SG-552 in hand, and we're just looking for some of that mid-range backup. Even just popping over the top of these train carts, just giving that information before you move in. Those smokes, sure, they can be a deterrence, but that's what Luna's all about.
Yeah, and this is something the players were talking a lot about. Making sure they're using their recon operators to get these respawn beacons down. So you're going to see a Luna, a Hat Claw on pretty much, if not every single squad. It'll be almost every single squad. Obviously, probably the one exception to that rule would be our squad that's in the tanks. It's probably going to be the boys, mostly engineers. Complete onslaught right now, trying to find who's got the advantage on C1 and C2. As a reminder, let's go C1, C2, then we go D1 and D2. And I would say C1 and C2 is where I've seen a lot of maps end here on Trainwreck. So this is going to be a tall task for the attack. So far, they've already done what they needed to win the tiebreaker, and everything else is just a cherry on top, potentially winning this tournament here.
Definitely is. Funky, barricading forward, making those call-outs, still looking for the angles. You've got this fence here, and we're just going to keep on swinging for the hills. Data knife going out, and, well, goodbye, vehicle. We'll see you later. Working towards this, and I like these angles. If you're going to jump onto the stairs, filter through the doorways, leave minimal openings for the opposing side to come on in the jump down. Could you imagine if we would just hit something crazy instead of just losing our life right there?
Yeah, I love talking macro, but I do love watching the micro hero plays of somebody going absolutely massive on the map with some crazy outplays.
I was ready for it. I was ready for it, but their friend went ahead and took them down, and instead we lose our life in the process. But you see the shields coming on in, and we're going to slowly barricade in. Little DJ out towards the left, not before being ripped down. Now, here is the ultimate standoff inside the building, just constantly keeping apprised of these windows on either side. But when you have multiple players filtering through, Click, there's maybe like a meter worth that he can actually get hit from up here. And he's using this cover nicely with aim.
Patience is a virtue oftentimes on these points. And since this is the first time we've seen a 2-point capture zone, I would continue to use the terminology I've been using for now almost a year on this game, ever since the open beta. This is the classic tug of war, and it's right now absolutely heavily moving towards the attacking side as they have C2 and are pushing for C1 right now. Unbelievable effort from the attack, absolutely dominating this competition. Usually the tug of war lasts a bit longer. The defense holds 1 point, the attack holds the other. They then change points, hand them off. But right now the attack's done a really good job of capturing one, leaving the tank on that point, and just about everybody else besides a select few players moving over to the other. So because of that, they've been able to capture C1 and C2 and have full lives going into D1 and D2. This is a monumental moment here. As a reminder, we were talking tiebreakers, folks. We may not even need it. We are going, this is a single best of 3. We are going into D1 and D2 for the game. Unreal.
Insane, but what do you expect when you've gotten a full save here on Team Bravo? We spent a lot of time watching them. That's going to be Canyon, Click, Krazer, and Cupid. And, well, quite frankly, when you had your top fraggers from game number 1 on the attacking side of things now, you know it's going to be really tough to try and stop any sort of flow that they've got moving on. But for Alcatraz, we're going to sit on board here with them. Team Red, White on your screen. And, well, we'll wait for the rest of them to get back on board. But for now, it's NSD and Alcatraz trying to get into that next course of action. But this train broken down bridge should provide a lot of those angles on this maneuver towards the next points.
Yeah, this is such an interesting point on Trainwreck 2. You gotta remember, one of the only points in the game, actually, that D1 and D2, a split zone like this, is actually vertically stacked rather than kind of horizontally stacked. You gotta kind of walk through D1 to get to D2. Of course, you can go around, but it's more of a linear path, which is going to be really interesting for the defense to see what they're able to do. They spawned very close to D2. It's going to be the easiest point to hold in the game, technically, because of respawn points. But with the amount of support systems that our attacker is going to be able to call in, you should see potentially some guided missiles, or a lot more vehicles being called in for the attackers for this final push. They are taking D1 nearly immediately.
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do, and this onslaught that the attackers have been able to throw down here on Team Bravo has just been too much, and Team Alpha really doesn't have much time to completely stop the bleeding on this sector objective. So we'll see what that's gonna look like here, but for now, Vazia immediately getting ripped to shreds from just maybe showing a couple inches of their head at that point. So back to the bridge we go, and it just seems like chaos over chaos. Our observers are just finding all of the death.
Yeah, and here's a quick look at D1. Obviously, has been captured already from the attacker's side. It looks like our vehicle warfare has continued as down onto the point. They're actually able to keep the vehicle alive. They win the 1v1 in the vehicle battle as well. Serial Killer is keeping their dreams alive, potentially take this. As a reminder, yes, this is a complete different, mode of play compared to what we saw last game, Tiff. But it doesn't mean this tournament is over. If the defense is able to hold on D1 and D2, we still go to game 3. It doesn't matter how far you go, you just gotta get past your opponents. But to win this whole tournament, our attackers have to take both points. We'll see what they're able to do.
They really do. Well, you've got Turbo Supercharge here from Meet Your Memers, and well, when you're on Team Alpha and you are on that savior side, you've got to do what you can do to finesse and find any angle as possible. Alcatraz there on that D1, that's conflicting, right? Because if you're on the defense, you're trying to carve it back, but it's been really difficult for that to happen. But when Westa starts to show up, that's going to be that Ruffalo team, and they're super close to being able to pull it back, but you just got to keep tabs because these angles, man, I'm telling you, they're winning on their close range engagements, their vehicles, and now even these mid-range battles.
Yeah, we've got another vehicle drop here. This was actually a pretty strategic play and a little bit of luck. They barely got it in time, but our commander signaled to hold D1, and it was being recapped. You can see it, it's green right now. It has been recapped mostly by the defense, but they got that secure just in the nick of time for that timer to be red right when that timer ended for the command orders. Because of that, they were able to earn some extra score and be able to call in a vehicle. Immediately, we see some vehicle warfare off of the right-hand side. And almost instantaneously, Heisen's being taken down right now. It looks like our defense has set up well. And finally, with the tank off in the distance, this is going to help each other out. This is going to help the attack refine their footing. I think it's Yellow Love and the tank playing support from way down under, throwing shells downrange to try to take out some of the defense. And it looks like John the Bomb in the tank destroyer doing what he does best, which is wheel and deal and pick up a ton of kills. Basically 1v5ing on point D2, trying to open up a little bit of breathing room to retake D1.
Well, what I love, and as soon as we saw, oh, okay, look, I'm just telling you, sometimes you gotta take a quick scope with a rocket launcher to make things happen, but they already have anti-tank mines down around the point, so making sure that these vehicles actually take the pressure moving on in, but Boy is gonna answer back with some of the vehicles of their own. You see that respawn beacon there on the bridge, explosions coming on in, but you really see another vehicle. Look, you lose a vehicle, you bring one in. It's just that constant influx and chaos. But I love that Yellow Love, what they're going to be able to prioritize is throwing down that damage towards the opposing vehicle.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they connected on too many of them. So we're going to see the defense get into it. But this is a classic strategy. I think it's an INV. We'll have to get a look at it here in a second. But, you know, it's classic strategy. If you can take down vehicles before they land, fantastic. But that doesn't matter right now. Take a look at the top middle of your screen. D1 fully captured by the attack. D2 under fire right now. This is a huge push for them, and they've got urgent backup deployment time for another 20 seconds. It means your respawns are going to come a lot quicker. This is a huge push for the attack, and they're trying to make the most use of it that they can. Defense has swarmed the point. It's not looking like the attacker's going to be able to take it, but this is such a scare for the defense. They cannot lose both of these points, or they lose this whole tourney.
It's getting really close, and they're down to 100 tickets at this point, so we'll see how it goes. This is the closest it's been, but there's not a lot left on D2. It is down to the wire, and I'm starting to feel nervous.
Yeah, this is a heroic effort here from Voltaic and Codes, Deathshoker, Illusion, Justin playing fantastic right now. Really battling for position on this point, making sure all of these spawns. It's not about killing everyone, it's about killing as many as you can so that the numbers that swarm the point are weak enough to where you can make a defense. This is less about single heroic plays and more about the macro. But as we take D2, the classic tug of war begins, and the defense says, well, we can't refine position, let's go for D1. Here's the problem. Classic strategy working flawlessly. Everybody go to D2. We sit a single tank on the point to make sure D1 would be nearly impossible to retake. Does look like the defense has restabilized a bit onto D2, but great effort from the attack. They're doing everything right. It feels like just a matter of time. I think the question is can they do it in enough time? Only 78 lives remaining, but doing everything right.
Yeah, so you immediately saw when we kind of panned back, it was that Ruffalo team, little DJ, Be Quiet. They were trying to make a play to recapture, but can we talk about how we just survived that? I'm talking these close range engagements, especially around those points have been wild, but D1, my eyes have been on that all day, because if you had Be Quiet, who had formerly played on Du Bois, has known success, knows what it's like to win, and just wants to feel that again, especially when you jump back to Polska-Grum. They do not want to let it go in a 2-0 fashion. I can't imagine your Delta Force Global League, European Warfare, Season 1 champs are going to want that.
I totally agree. Kill feed lighted up by the attackers. Tank destroyer, extremely valuable. This is something they want to keep alive to be able to make a lot of value on the point. Pupari did not find an angle there, was just trying to get that thing reloaded so he could potentially do a bit of damage, but with the engineers around, pocket engineer, absolutely valuable. But keep an eye, top, middle. And anytime we go to the free cam, you're going to see it looks like all the defense has respawned here, trying to push for D1. I'm going to find an angle on D1 at the very least. D2 under fire right now. D1 under fire. And unfortunately, a split push from the defense is actually probably not the play. You want to try to restabilize on a single point. So now we've swapped positions. Take a look at this. most of our attackers are on D1 and on D2 now. We've got the tank in a select squad trying to make a push and open things up for their team. This is how you do it, folks. Very well coordinated.
Well, Toxic Squad, Vabatrow, gonna hit that res. It's gonna be brilliant to make sure that we keep that pressure on. It's been so close, but down to around 40 tickets now through the smoke, through the chaos. This is how you have to survive. Just bring it on out. You take pressure from behind, you hit that one, but that is where Stinger is clutch until you have the reinforcements that catch you from a different angle. Ags and T here. I love the angles that we're taking, but someone's gotta rip this player off the hill or we're not gonna survive underneath the bridge.
Well, this is such a difficult double point to take. Again, the linear progression of D1 and D2 is such an interesting kind of wrinkle in the twist of these 2-point capture zones. Here comes Alcatraz getting into the mix, saying, let me open things out for the boys. And by the boys, not talking about the team, talking about the overall side. Again, 5 teams of 4, all qualified to be here, split up onto separate teams and being asked to say, hey, we may have never played together, we may have played against each other, but now we got to coordinate together. The attackers, Team Bravo, they won map 1 by holding point A, and they've pushed all the way to D2. They have 26 lives remaining. They probably have maybe one really strong push left, and Alcatraz is going for it right now, getting into the mix the best they can while keeping their vehicle alive to coordinate this push. They have full control over to D1. A couple folks on the flank, they're holding it correctly, trying to get everybody respawn to make this push, and they've done it. We're on to D2, Tiff. This is a huge moment for them. It's on the back of this forward squad. I think that's Q-Pitch, I think, on the point, and then we've got the Tank Destroyer playing backup. They found an angle on the backside, and here comes the defense.
Yeah, but with 16 tickets, D2 has been the most complex, but you're gonna do it. Bring in the artillery barrage, let that do work. If not, you're gonna force these people off the point, and hopefully we can make something happen. We hit a res, we preserve a ticket, but the explosion comes in, and we are collateral damage. Canyon there, dead center on D2, gets shredded, but look how close we are. And with 7 tickets remaining, it's gonna be a close one, Goj.
It's insanely close. D2 is being completely captured here. Some last moments from vehicles to get onto D2. They've grabbed it. D2 fully contained. D1 is about to be captured as well. The final push from the defense to try to hold either point. They take a little bit back of D2, and there's only 1 life remaining. A guided missile called in. I don't know if it'll matter. It's probably landing directly onto D2. It couldn't get any closer right now. And just barely, the defense is going to win this one. It literally could not have gotten any closer. Defense is on their heels the entire game. The defense could not find any stabilization point. And I mean, I think they got to 100% on D1, and I want to say like 85% on D2. This tournament was almost over right then and there, and just
plays, because their setups, the top fragging potential that we witnessed from game number 1 was nutty from no full save.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good breakdown, and again.
19日正式推出会登录 PS5、Xbox 并且是免费游玩的。黑鹰坠落也会作为免费 DLC 推出。再过几个小时，我们的主机版本的商店页面即将开放请大家记得把我们添加进入心愿单。同时呢，我们也会推出一个超值的主机平台的礼包，然后现在购买可以在主机上线的时候获取。我们也将在7月份开启主机平台的先点技术测试，请大家关注我们的官网和各大的官方社区。我们也将在陆续发布一些招募的一些指引。欢迎大家来体验，也希望大家多多给我们提一些反馈意见，我们会对这些反馈意见做出很好的优化和修改。同时呢 ，Delta Force 是我们团队的第一款的跨端产品，也是我们首次在主机平台上的尝试。我们的团队花费了非常多的时间和心力，然后我们希望能够把产品打磨好，和大家见面。也感谢大家一直在耐心的等待和支持。我们会继续努力，会打磨好我们。
just finished game 2, and
Yeah,
I've got to
boys.
say, game 3 is going to be a ton of fun, but let's take a look at the scores here. This is pretty impressive stuff. Take me through this. I mean, obviously, John the Bomb on the Team Bravo side with 70 kills is unbelievable, but talk to me about some of the other stat lines.
Look, I'm telling you, if you were going to be in a vehicle, you might as well have a stat line like that. That's quite impressive. Love that for John DeBomb. Love the success. But you look on over to Team Alpha, our winning team. So far, that defense has just proven to be so important. But since the game really drug out to the final moments, you're going to see a lot of boosted score lines, which is going to help when you have to look for top medic, top slayer. And I'm looking at Polskagura. We were talking about that team that was the large charge in Season 1, the #1 ranked team from the winning side of things. So, of course, when they come over towards Season 2, they're going to look to put up similar numbers. And right there, when you see Skya Art, 39 kills, and even X-Prey from Grom at 46. So just knowing that that's really important on those score lines, but that's not even the top fragging potential. It was really close between Vabatrow as well, with 47 coming in just 1 kill above, and that's going to be from Toxic Squad. And Toxic Squad was on the losing side of things in Season 1. So knowing that we've brought it to a 1-1 scoreline, moving ahead of Game 3 here, we've already put out how much we can do. Now you just have to kind of lock it in and do it again.
Yeah, great breakdown. I love that we can see how all these teams do as well. But let's take a look at the overall. And again, it is 1-1, but this is a really impressive bout here from Team Bravo. And again, you're going to see such a massive scoreline because the game just went way longer in the second round with a massive score tally, almost winning it all. Just impressive stat lines. Obviously, they've got quite a bit more kills. John the Bomb leading the charge over there, and a score difference. But it is 1-1, and just because you have more score or more kills doesn't mean you're going to win this whole tournament. We are going to Game 3, and our teams are in the selection process right now to figure out what we're going to do and how it's going to work. So now, as our teams are working on this tip, I want to take a look at our format graphic again to break this down, to describe how it works to everybody at home, because it is not confusing, but it's just intricate, because this is a competitive format. So I want to talk about this. Let's bring the format graphic back up. We're going to Game 3, folks, so I'm going to draw your eyes to the bottom middle of the screen, Game 3 mode. The selection priority goes to Team Bravo. So the way this works is that they can either choose map or they can choose side. But because they're the priority selector, if they say they want to choose side, the other team chooses map first. So the other team, that's going to be Team Alpha, is going to choose the map they want to play. And then our priority team, aka Team Bravo, they got further in the attacking side. They are the ones choosing attack and defense. So I think this is going to be really fun to watch out for. We're letting those commanders and the teams vote to figure out what map, what mode, what side they want to pick. I did get word, by the way, that our Team Bravo has elected to choose side, which makes a lot of sense. And so the onus responsibility is now on Team Alpha to choose the map they want to play. So we can talk a little bit about strategies. Our maps they can choose from are on the right side of the screen. Ascension, Crack, Threshold, Trainwreck, Trench Lines. I mean, I think, Tiff, my brain goes to, you expect the priority selector to choose the defense, most likely. They probably feel like that's the easiest thing to do, especially because they dominated on defense in the first map. So then I guess if I am our secondary team here that lost the tiebreaker, I guess I try to choose a map where I feel like the attack has a slight advantage. I mean, that's where my brain goes to.
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And you immediately look at Ascension and you're like, no, I do not want to attack on Ascension in any way, shape, or form, especially when you think about some of those later
Play defense on Cracked. Tiff, what do you think of this decision? Are you feeling good about it? Are you nervous for Team Bravo? Do you think they're still going to win?
No, I'm not going to take sides in any way, shape, or form, but I think if Team Bravo is immediately choosing defense, they're going to feel confident no matter what. Now, granted, if they would have gotten a map like Ascension, they would have felt 100,000 times more confident. Of course, if you're Team Alpha, you are not picking that map in any way, shape, or form. And picking Cracked, one of the maps that has been out in Delta Force since the very beginning, you're going to feel more confident on it because you've had more time in it. You can kind of coordinate your efforts between the initial rosters. And as we dive into our final game here of Europe Warfare in the Delta Force Global League Season 2, it's the respawn beacons already getting down, and it's going to be NSD Alcatraz trying to open things up.
Immediately, again, this map is quite a bit shorter than the rest of them, but because of that, point A sometimes is a little difficult to take. And we thought Trainwreck was going to be an easy point to take for the attackers. It ended up being stifled there immediately, so we'll see what happens this time around. Cracked, obviously, the OG of all OG maps. This is the original map from the original Delta Force reimagined. It's been in the game since the very beginning, and the alpha, and the open betas, and all the way to now. A fun map, a hotly contested map. A lot of debate around this map, but a fun one regardless. And the attack is already swung up onto A and getting a ton of value on the point. The defense has done what they usually do, which is scatter around the point, trying to play these flanks and weed numbers down to a point where they can take points easily. But in the process of doing that, they've left open the actual point itself to almost all of the attack who are on the point and getting decent value out of it.
Oh, all right. Meet your memers. Here we are. 2 Stingers, a Luna, a Hackclaw. You're feeling confident. You're asking about the operators. And look, if you're going to be looking to hit that offense heavy, right? Just get in there. Get those angles. You can see we're already taking rooftops. We're feeling super confident, but it's Volkswagen on the ground. Zerf and Skya they are going to be here looking to preserve lives if they can. The QCQ in hand and just pulling out the utility. I like our angles here, but A may convert here shortly.
Yeah, this is exactly why they chose the attack here. Or sorry, this is exactly why they chose Cracked, rather. They didn't choose the attack. Team Alpha.
They ended that way.
They said, we hope when we pick Cracked, they go defense. We feel more comfortable on the attack. And they're right. They were able to capture point A very quickly. They weren't able, I've been harping on this, but it's a really important note. They weren't able to attack and capture point A on Trainwreck at all. They lost on the very first point. They've already done better than that this time around. But unfortunately, doesn't matter how far you get. It's about who wins. The defense wins this. They win the tournament. The attack wins this. They win the tournament. It's 1-1. This is game 3. Everything is on the line.
Back to the overview here. You can look towards the setup, especially towards that temporary command area, and you've got the players that are lining the back and obviously the front, but check that angle across the road to be able to kind of just put that pressure down. However, when it comes to these hills, they definitely have eyes. You do have some engineers with their launchers and some initial close range 1v1s. You've got to win your ones, especially out there, but it's going to be Serial Killer in the vehicle from very far behind. And I do like it as we get geared up for battle.
And again, much better job this time. Serial Killer is kind of playing on the backside. As Westa that was driving the vehicles a little bit more into the mix, playing a high-risk play. It usually can work, especially in pubs. In coordinated efforts like this, not as much. So this time they're playing a little bit more patient. It's working for them. They're getting a little value here on B1. This is going to be the classic tug of war that we talk about all the time. You're going to try to pressure one point, make the defense hold the other, and then try to swarm, make a momentum play for the second point, and hope you don't give up the point you left. Usually it's done by leaving a vehicle on the point you originally capped. B1, the much easier point to take in Cracked. It's a lot more open, a lot more room to work. But the defense is not going to give it up 100% easily. They're going to still make a play for this. I don't know if this is a mistake necessarily, but it looks like the defense is completely losing B1 and losing a lot of lives in the process, which is opening up this flank for B2. Potentially try to take both of these nearly at the same time. You can already see B2 starting to tick down.
Kind of challenging, right? If you're Team Bravo and you're like immediately locking in the defense, this is the risk because you don't get to pick the map that you're going to feel the most comfortable on, but you're assuming that you can hold no matter what. So knowing that where B1 is about to fall, B2 is going to have to be that focus, but recapping B1 for the defense will need to be important. Caspian here, as soon as he peeks in, falls, but we keep on filtering through to see what Vazia is up to. And 7 in hand, hits the nice reload, but it's the open terrain that we're looking to cut people down in. However, the influx of the opposing side is just too much to deal with.
One more on me.
Wait. You see the...
Got some commander comms leaking through there. And again, Victor Unite here. The commanders are able to talk to all the squad leaders and issue commands. You can hear a little bit of that coming through as we swap perspectives around. But the free cam showed it to obviously the attack moving. They're I think they just found their footing. This is a completely different team than what we witnessed in the very first game. Stabilized, taking point B1, now pushing for B2. Now, obviously, the defense going to strike back with a tank of their own. Vehicle is going to be a huge play here, but Vehicle spawn's a bit different, obviously, than Trainwreck, correct? A whole different beast. If you haven't played this map in a while, you gotta remember how difficult it can be on either side. A very swingy, momentum-based map. I think a lot of our pubs players struggle to capture points on this map, but in coordinated esports, it's definitely easier. We've seen a lot of really cool moments on this map with tanks climbing walls, shooting down into B2. You might see that here in a little bit. But a stalemate between B1 and B2. Plenty of lives, though. This is not even close to being over. Got 136 still on the map. A lot of room to work.
Yo, I don't know how we didn't get taken down there. We get out with our lives. You've got the friendly Toxic that's going to help with some of her utility here to maintain our presence. We take some damage. We initially filter on, but we go through the door, and that's when you get ripped to shreds. And it just seems like all that chaos is happening here. We'll kind of zoom on out, get a good look at B1. As you can see, you got Meet Your Memers that are kind of uniting around to push out that presence. That's going to be Team Alpha. They're the ones that chose Cracked. They're feeling confident on this map. Their best coordinated effort to turn this into a Europe Warfare win here in Season 2.
Very strong right now. They're even getting value on B2, even though a majority of the team was on B1. Nice opening push is going to be the signal flare for everybody else to storm across this wide open space. This is really where you need a lot of smokes to cover this distance, but also some vehicles to open things up. Now, C1 and C2, honestly, pretty difficult as well, but I would argue usually teams that are able to make it to B2 and take both of these points usually are able to make C1 and C2 as long as they have a decent amount of lives. So I think our metric of success here for the attackers, obviously, they've got to win the map. But the success to go into the second point, you need to just make sure that you've got over 100 lives for C1 and C2, and I think they've got a decent chance of taking the whole thing. A large responsibility, but so far so good. Here's the attack. They're trying to play around. This is that kind of quadrant, that quad I was talking about earlier. You can drive a tank over some of these walls and shoot down into it if you want to. Obviously, risk losing that vehicle playing that aggressive, but...
Ooh, okay, Alcatraz. Kind of filtering through. Now, I love what you're saying there, but the moment I think about it, when we go on to see if we get that far here for the attacking side, it's going to be difficult because a lot of the vehicles are going to make a better use when it comes to those sector objectives. But back towards B2, filtering in, you can see the vehicle you were talking about kind of nestling into the slums itself, and Zerf is going to pop on out, find some cover, into the vehicle we go. Once you have all of that pressure, it's like, hey, preserve the vehicle's health, try to keep it alive for the time being, but Serial Killer no longer in a vehicle, wants to get Nixie inside the house and looks for one, but misses, hits the flip, but I'm telling you, some of those close range combats, if you're not kind of pre-firing through the doors, there's a good chance you're not going to make it out.
The attack is crushing it right now. Again, B1, they're about to get B2. I mean, look at, you can see with the X-ray how many red bodies are on that point.
One beyond.
Opening fire!
Really well executed from the attack right now, and the momentum is absolutely on their side. I think our defense is starting to sweat because they're going to have to give up this point most likely and force it to C. The problem is, again, metric of success, we need over 100 lives going into C1, C2, and they're easily going to have over 100. It can be a tall task for the defense. What we thought was going to be maybe a defensive victory early, all of a sudden turns into absolutely dominating for the team that lost priority selection. They lost the tiebreaker, almost lost the tournament in game 2, and all of a sudden they've got momentum. Defense is absolutely scrambling.
Hey, look, I'd be scrambling too, especially when you think about what that looked like for Team Bravo on game number 1 or Trainwreck. Their defense was absolutely stellar, but like you said, Team Alpha looking completely different. It's like they've woken, right? They just knew that they had to lock it in, and they have done everything out. Hey, maybe that litmus test was game number 1, and they were like, I feel confident now. I don't even care. Give us all the reinforcements. Give us all the pressure. 146 tickets, right? They're only missing about 34 now as we move on to the sector objectives for C.
And here we go, C1 and C2. Obviously you have, I think, the hangar on the left-hand side, C1, that is an interesting point. Technically, you can blow it to smithereens with enough guided missiles. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough support systems for that, but it is possible. Quick look here at some of the vehicles being spawned in. This is where you're going to see more vehicles spawned, more supports called. Big moments for some of our commanders are in a ton of value for their team with some of the issued orders they can send out. We had one on the attacking side for B2, and I think they were able to execute on that, so they should have a sizable amount of support here from the attacking side, and immediately they're swarming C1 and getting a ton of value on it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but that angle, you get ripped. Silly kitty trying to be like, all right, it's fine. I've got my launcher in the back pocket. I want to make sure we're taking down the vehicles as they come on in, not getting shredded for ourselves, but moving on over towards this area. You were talking about it, C1, military supply stash, C2, office area. Good look at where we can see this building. This building will get broken down inevitably if that offense wants to make sure that they can completely shred it. You saw that vehicle kind of moving in towards the road, but I think this is a good focus point for their initial attack. You can see everyone kind of on that catwalk, just nestling into the smoke, trying to rip people out of the building as they filter through there. Nice thermal to kind of help through those smokes, and look, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, it's the right play. Again, something that you see in Cracked all the time. If you played pubs, you've seen it, and even at the high level, you see it. A ton of smokes. You need smokes on just about every map, but Cracked even more so than other maps. You see a lot of stingers, likely some Lunas. We need smoke grenades. And we need to be able to see through smokes. You're going to see Recon Arrows probably playing a massive, getting a lot of value rather for your team, so you're able to play for these. You see 2 Lunas on this team. On this point, immediately taking down almost everybody on the defensive side. C1 is nearly entirely swarmed by the attack, and this is a very well-coordinated push from the attack yet again, because they have found not only their momentum, but their stride in playing as an entire team of 20.
Okay, Zen, I see you. Love kind of the angles of keeping your eyes on those windows, and DJ, out the door we go. Kind of working alongside the team, hiding out in the smokes. Get that information from the commander for that team, and on board we go. Turbo Supercharge. Still trying to hang on here.
Bakul Sate baru saja memberikan 10.000. Jo lali ngopi Masmi.
However, the progress is about halfway.
Yeah, and here the tug of war has started. C1 entirely captured by the attack. They've got complete control over this point. And now it's about cutting through a couple of these numbers to open things up for the push for C2. I don't think it has to be very quick. They don't have to force this. I think that'll be a mistake. The best teams on Crack usually take the first point and slow it down, get all together, and then make a coordinated push for C2. Usually can overwhelm the numbers. We're seeing a lot of hero plays from a couple individuals, and obviously a ton of vehicle value for the attacking side this time around. They're actually winning these vehicle fights. The tank destroyer trying to stay alive. And I don't think they're going to do it. Wow, John the Bomb cut down.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was trying to navigate the vehicle through the alleyways, and Yellow Love waiting with open arms, saying, hello, my beloved. Welcome back.
Yeah, they need it. Look at this C2 big retake. Now again, coordinated push, sure, from the attack. They are losing C1, so a great counterattack from the defense to keep their dreams alive. It's just about who wins the map. It doesn't have to be pretty. It could go down to the final moments, just like the last one. Yellow Love immediately on C2 saying nobody's taking this down in my face. And they've got a transport vehicle and they've got an IFE on point C2, and they've completely wiped out all of the attackers on C2, completely retaking. Very well executed from Yellow Love to get into the mix and at least just give a little bit of reprieve, draw the fire of some of the infantry so that their ground troops on the defense could retake.
Well, back on here we go. I mean, look, if you're going to clear out C2, you've got to get that done. Focus on over to C1, but if I'm Valbatrow and co, I want to make sure on Team Alpha that we are getting our reinforcements back on in, and look at where Turbo Supercharge has moved in from Nature Memers, right? Might as well just nestle ourselves deep into C1, saying, now you're not getting this. Especially once you see them clear out C2, you know their next matter is going to be making this rotation over to C1. So kind of overextending on out is going to be great. You can rip people out of this road because that's going to be where they're super exposed.
A true stalemate, or it looks like one. Defense getting pretty aggressive here. This is a very risky play, but it's paying off for them for the most part. John the Bomb able to stay alive for a moment in a fight. Hopefully with some help of his other vehicle. Now it's a 2v1 vehicle warfare. If they're able to get this vehicle down and not lose one, it's going to be a huge boon, and they're able to do it. They lose one in the process. They trade one out. As long as they don't trade both out, no, he goes down. both vehicles traded out for one. This could be an opening the attack needs if they can surmount a counterattack with the defense with no vehicles. Nobody having any vehicles now that we can see.
Oh, tadi
It's
ku tundang
honestly a good trade
pas
for the
login
attack.
ku tundang
As long as they're able to stabilize on
tuku
C2, they can make a
token-nya
push
ya.
for C1 rather. They can make a push for C2 here shortly.
Copy. Vehicle drop.
Oh, that's going to be so tough, but more vehicles coming in. It's like those reinforcements. You can see the pressure, you see the explosions, and they're denying it straight up. Here we go. Look, we're down to the wire when it comes to this, but look who also wants to get their hand on a new vehicle. Down on the back lines, it looks like that one's actually going to get wheels on the ground. We're going to jump on here with Emberson, narrowly avoiding all the pressure, filtering back in through the side of things. Hey, preserve those tickets, get your homies back up.
Such a good call out from BTF. That was obviously a trade in vehicles we saw on broadcast, but then vehicles being called in and the trade being also won by the defense. It's a huge boon to have the only vehicle on the map. They use it correctly, they probably win the map because of that one trade. Whoever it was that shot down the vehicles for the attack that was spawning in, kudos to you. Very well executed. A classic strategy in esports, but if you can execute it correctly, absolutely turns the tide in your favor.
Do it, you can see it. Look at that. We are just hitting the main roads, but this is when we're starting to return back to form, right? Especially if we're returning to cracked. Why not grab all of your OG operators that have been here since the dawn of time in Delta Force? You're going to feel really confident when it comes to just locking into the assault operators. It's going to be great when you need to make sure that you have to keep on barricading and forward and retake. But I like that we're going to nestle onto these corners. But as I say that, we leave ourselves just slightly exposed, and that is going to cost you everything.
Another vehicle spawning in for the attackers, and I think it looks like one of those. No, it gets taken out. There's the top of that tank gone. They are going to get the second vehicle in, so they will have at least one vehicle on the ground. And it looks like maybe another spawning. A huge boon for the attackers. At least get one on the ground. They lose a second though. And again, you know, as much as we tout the heroics of these individuals, it's some of the things that we don't see on screen that are hard to capture. Of those that are playing the engineers, shooting these vehicles down before they land. Those are the true heroes of this map. As we're down to 28 lives, this is a nail-biter yet again on the last couple points. The last couple pushes, here we go. Attackers tank getting into the mix. It is going to be one tank versus two on the other side of two vehicles on the other side. Let's see how much value they're able to get out of it. Already extremely weak. The defense immediately targeting Westa here. And I think he's going to go down. That is a brutal loss for the attack. There goes all of their power.
Yeah, well, that was Silly Kitty making a big play that was definitely needed. That's going to be from Team Reborn on Team Bravo. Now, mind you, with 23 tickets left, we need a coordinated effort.
Karakter terakhir yang nyerang Google piye?
Lockdown on C1, but C2 has been
Tapi otomatis yang duwe goal ya paling.
Falls trying to make a push, and Serial Killer, Valvetrao, XMT. Can they get close enough to make this happen for themselves?
19 lives, no power, vehicles on the side of the defense. Again, this is a tug of war, but it's really a push and pull between two teams. Both who have had their moments in the limelight. Looks like we're seeing some value for the attackers on C2. It looks like we've got a lot more green swinging over to C1 to try to maybe play a trade. And tank holding C2, it doesn't look like this attack's going to be very fruitful from what we can see, unless there's an incredibly heroic effort here from this squad. Serial Killer going massive in the kill feed, but I just don't know how much value you're going to be able to find from the attackers.
I
mean, they've got bodies on point, but I don't know. I mean, they're seeing some value on C2 that we don't see. There's just a lot of green still on C1. I think it's going to be a trade.
I mean, if you're going to literally go stride a vehicle into C1, what do you expect? And as you turn your attention over to C2, that respawn beacon is going to be incredibly vital. And here come all of the missiles, making sure that they can push everyone out of the way. But it just delays the inevitable. Team Bravo, I saw Silly Kitty get absolutely eviscerated. And just like that, you can see it here. Team Alpha are the champions.
Yeah, this was
Team Bravo.
Yeah, there it is.
Wait a second.
I was about to say, Team Bravo are your champions. It was that close, though. That's what it felt like in the final moments, right? We're right there at the end. It looks like Team Alpha might win. They've got red on both points, but they don't fully capture that. And because of that, the defense is able to win. It is Team Bravo gets on the point, saves the day. And although both points were red, they were not fully captured. MA Sky are 51 revives, looking for that top medic as well. So great stat values. Any other notes you got on this leaderboard here, Tiff?
It's kind of wild, right? Polska, I'm sure you're on the losing team there on Team Alpha, but you performed exceptionally today, and you just got to give your flowers to that team to kind of really, alongside Rom, Toxic, all of them have. You guys in chat if you've been watching a ton of these Delta Force show matches or not, but some of these names should be incredibly familiar to you. Take a look at Zinsire. That man was going crazy in the show matches. And speaking of crazy, I do want to talk about Mr. Wormy and his ability to pilot a helicopter. Dude was an absolute menace out there, probably one of the most evasive people I have ever seen. And you know, when it comes to warfare, how incredibly important being able to drive or pilot a certain type
will be on attack to start. Bravo will be on defense to start. So it'll be fun to see what teams are able to do. They will just swap though in round 2, so there's not necessarily any advantage there. We're going to play both sides. And sure, it is possible we don't go to game 3.
Rezeki berdonat langsung oleh garapan. Ya jelas lah.
But Tiff, as per usual, only time will tell.
Kene yo makane sering-sering donate.
Game number 1, the defense held them at A. Now, granted, they were not playing on Threshold; they were playing on Train Wreck, but
new drops active here on the Twitch channel for Delta Force just for this weekend, so you'll be able to watch this broadcast and our behind your vehicles, but also don't lose your vehicles in the process. That was probably the biggest mistake we saw in Europe, was some vehicle players getting a little too high risk and losing the vehicles early, which really stifles the attack. Now, as a reminder, this is Victory Unite. It's because of that we've got less lives than usual. Usually it's around 180 per map, and of course you only get about 60 or so per capture point that you take if you're able to move on to the next point in the new sector. So not a lot of room to work with when it comes to lives, but a lot of room to work with when it comes to earning score, especially if the commanders play well. So we'll see what the commanders are able to do as we hop into the game, and like I said, 180 lives on the clock. Let's see what our attacks able to do and how many they're able to keep up. How many revives are we going for? I think the record from Europe, our top medic, was 125, if I remember correctly, Tiff. A crazy number. Let's see what our attacks able to do.
look, your goal is just to break triple digits if you want to find yourself in some of those individual awards, but kicking things off, you're on board with G7 from Team Alpha. Now, mind you, we do know on the attacking side for Team Alpha, it's going to be Snarf X from NYXE that is the commander. So keep an eye on them for them to be able to give the comms across all teams and control it all.
Yeah, I'm calling him Snarf. I don't know if it's Snarf or it's something else, but Snarf it is for now. You can correct me later. But a nice start here for the defense. You can see, again, if you didn't watch earlier, this is our esports observer mode. So everybody that's attacking is going to be in red, and everybody defending is going to be in green. So our attackers already have swung up on the flank, pushed onto the point, getting stifled here for a couple heroes on the left side. The attack has way more bodies on the point already. It looks like the defense already on their heels.
Ooh, this is going to be tough, and as you see it there, only lost 6 tickets thus far. Mr. Wormy, on your screen, this team is Syndicate. Now, we were talking about how much they've shown through the show matches, but diving in here to the Delta Force Global League and Zinsire, we've seen him go crazy, but gets lost out there. Just those tight angles I was talking about, Goshen. You've really got to be hyper-vigilant because you can easily get flanked, and Zio just trying to do some of that themselves.
That's a good shot. A quick aggressive motion here is exactly what you want from the attack. Traditionally, when we talk about Victory Unite, we talk about how much value there is in being the defensive side if you're coordinated. But look at this extremely well-coordinated attack already sort of onto the point, formed a wall all together. No reason to do anything else besides just stack bodies onto the point, especially if you push the defense back. You have the advantage in point A, and usually it goes quick. I wasn't expecting it to go this quick, though. A very fast cap, and we are moving on to the B points almost instantaneously. Tiff, I don't know if this is a bad omen for our defense, or if they just said in chat together, hey, we're not worried about A, let's make sure we don't give away B.
Look, it's respectable, right? I was talking about a lot of the things that we'd be witnessing, but this team is going for the hyper-aggro stretch. You've got the Stinger, you've got the Nox, you've got all of the goodies here to make sure that you can just lay down that pressure and just keep moving forward. But would you expect anything less when you've got some returning winners from Delta Force Season 1 on that global league side of things, especially NYXE? You've got For Fun Esports, and they threw down so many kills. I'm talking NYXE was responsible for over 1,000 of those kills. Now, granted, we're playing in a different game mode, less tickets and lives in general, but there's still a lot of kills to be had.
Definitely a lot of kills to be had, and it looks like somebody's already in the bird. We'll see who it is. You're right, Snarf is going to be the commander for the attacking side, so fortunately for the commander. As per the usual, Mr. Wormy has found his way into the helicopter, and as one could imagine, especially when it comes to pubs lobbies, you've probably seen some folks, Mr. Wormy included, tear up those lobbies with this helicopter. One small bird, though, a well-coordinated strike, absolutely can take it out quickly, especially in a coordinated esports effort like this. So we'll see how much value he's able to truly get out of it. Nice flank here from Chick Chicka Boom on Wormy's team. They revive and kill.
Look, I'm telling you, he's at this point, he's my lord and savior when it comes to the Mr. Wormy in the helicopter. You never know what you're going to get in. Chick Chick Boom, 5 HP, goes for the repeat, but thankfully you've got a Stinger on your side there. Sometimes, I'm telling you, it's always good to have a pocket healer. We talk about pocket engineers, but knowing that you have that individual reward for top medics and preserving those tickets when it comes to the attacking side of things. Absolutely blackout, though. That was kind of unfortunate for them.
Patience is a virtue in many games in Warfare. Occasionally it is, and right now already the attack not being very patient at all, just swinging on these points as fast as humanly possible. Again, Alpha is our attacking team. Bravo, when we were talking about those team lists on the defense. The attack has taken B1. They are getting stifled now. They're not able to just immediately take B2, and it's mostly because of this tank on the other side for the defense already set up. It looks like G7 is going to try to get Nixie here. They will play this flank, trades one, but tank stays interior. This is a huge boon too. Some of the nuance here, obviously, is that basically to take out this tank, you're either going to have to use fire magnetic bombs or an 18-4. Javelins and other launchers obviously can't go indoors.
Kandani ya. Wis 10 kali 20 ran. Engko dene tak 20 ka 40 ran.
Diversity when it comes to our operator utilization at Playboy here on the Stinger, trying to just kind of hit the knife for the quick rotate, play off the smoke. Now this is why a lot of that recon is going to be important. You can throw the detection arrow straight into a smoke if you need that information, but right now just trying to hold on a bit longer for the defense side of things.
The attack's doing a nice job of holding B1 while also pressuring B2. We're just talking about it. Got a guided missile here from Uluru, one of their abilities. Really extremely valuable. So far, again, B1 contested, but still held quite nicely for the attack. Defensive side, it is a lone survivor here that will end up falling. Cut down as we continue to move on and check out some of these other PvPs.
Okay. I don't know if that vehicle just got exploded. It did. Okay, they drove, they got 5 seconds, and then you see it all go up in flames. G7 on your screen now, but they've already made some adaptations because they came in with triple Tempest, which is wild, and now Demons is the only one that's going to keep locking it back in. I was like, look, you're going hyper aggro. That's a heck of a way. One of the newest operators, that assault operator. We're talking about just a movement legend when it comes to just being able to roll around. You do have her ult that kind of drags you back and almost gives you that extra life. But sure, people can camp it can get a little wild, but it's just going to be Demons who are the last Tempest alive for that roster.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But B2 about to be captured here for attack. This is the classic tug of war. Again, I'll use this a lot, but tug of war usually goes one way and then the other, and they go back and forth until one side finally wins. And so far, the attack, yes, they gave a little leeway over on B1, but a nice recap here. The attack's done very quickly. Take B1 and B2. And they are flying through this map already. Still, again, over 100 lives moving into C1, C2 is going to be a huge boon for this team if they're able to continue to hold. And they're just winning their ones right now. Really great shots. Finally traded out, but it doesn't matter. We're at nearly max lives going into C1, C2. Was not expecting this from the attack. Very well done.
No, just on board Onion Esports, and sure, they were taking lives before they got ripped apart, but as we move on, get geared up for Sector C, you're going to have all of those points that are going to be difficult, right? We're talking about, like, you can bring in a lot of artillery to hit hard, and it can help destroy and break down the map, but honestly, when you look at NYXE on your screen, they are just guns ablazing, just full sending straight on towards. You can see the defense is going to be situated over there by C1, looking for some open sightlines, but when you've got the attackers on Team Alpha, just full investing a vehicle on the front line to open the door for NYXE.
And again, this is exactly what you want to see. C1 and C2 are traditionally extremely difficult on this map. And you can open things up with some guided missiles and bring down one of these buildings, which is really cool to watch. But what I'm a little worried about is if the defense can't find any footing here, we could be done very quickly. This is exactly what you want to do for an attacking team that has a lot of momentum. You've got to keep up with the pace. You can never let the defense find footing and reset up. They could stay long enough to where they win this, especially with the lower amount of lives and victory. The attack is guns blazing, flying at these points.
Hey, look, Locket and D-Wolf here for the aggro plays. Look, sometimes you just need a assault operator. Plus, you do have that backup smoke that you can use if you need to. But the push comes in, and look at Nori here behind enemy lines and just holding it down, allowing the rest of the attacking side to kind of filter through the doorway. You do have the movement like that. Just keep it moving. This is what I'm talking about. I have not seen such a hard-hitting squad in a very long time. You know what, Coach? Team Alpha is looking cohesive.
Yeah, they really are. And they're also just winning their ones and winning their hero plays. You know, we talk about macro all the time in Warfare. If you're able to win a lot of these strays and take out 2, 3, 4, 5 even for Nori right now by yourself, you get pretty solid value. This is truthfully and frankly not even close to start things off, which I was not expecting from Alpha. Bravo has some extremely heavy hitters as well. Really good team chemistry already pre-built. But it doesn't matter. The attack is flying through this map extremely quickly. C1 already getting into their hands. And now the defense can't really respond on that slice and Nori and others. So Nori down the covering fire. Obviously, SMG range isn't going to work that well from that far away. But at least it's carrying good enough where they feel like they can't get anywhere. C1 and C2 both getting attacked at the same time. Chase.
They just keep on moving. Honestly, seeing Nori here, I'm just curious what that's going to look like knowing that Syrian was their highest performing player back in Season 1. And when you're swapping that out, you've got to have someone that's going to be absolutely stellar coming in there, straight into the mix, looking good. And so you've got our commander here, last alive, take dive behind, the push comes in, baits it, keep going, but unfortunately from behind the stairs, just keep that pressure moving forward. Now, Wag, take the four-wheeler, grab the homies, Nori's going to spawn right on the back of them, and they're going to look for kind of a vantage point that they can go ahead and get into the fray.
Nice push from the attackers again. I actually quite like taking siege from here and it looks like that was mostly out of necessity. The defense is taking space faster. Let's see where all the defense is set up here on C1, and we got some hero plays against Nori, who's kind of playing frontman, trying to look for some of these early aggressive fights, especially if you trade out multiple, could open things up for your team. Little vehicle battle on the outside. We've been waiting on it a little while. We've got a helicopter in the air for a little while, getting a decent bit of value, nothing crazy. Some of these vehicle fights will determine the pace of this. You can already see it's a lot of map destruction on this one, especially if that first getting blown out. That's going to change up a little bit of some of the rotations you can take to get to safety, get to the other point. Right now, the attack. This is one of their first big pushes, swinging from C2 to C1. It looks like one of our defensive players is just trying to find any value from the outside.
Yeah, industrial here, and this is challenging, right? Because as soon as you think you're going to be finding some crazy angles, you keep peeking and you don't check your left, and that's what it's going to cost you. But when you've got the remainder of your team still elsewhere, you turn your attention towards C1, which is utter chaos. NYXE still looking to rack up their score lines. Look at those tickets though, 114, still quite nice. When you grab one, can you grab two? Look at all the pressure. We're still making that play at the top of the staircase here. And if you've got that self-heal, you just keep on hitting it, working, you dive right back in.
This might be him. Absolutely moving different on the map right now. They're losing C2 and retaking C1, so they're trading points yet again, but they're kind of doing it with a smaller group of people, so they should have at least some bodies over on C2 trying to play some defense. Triple Blasters can at least give a warning shot with the guy if he doesn't really pay too much mind. About half health with the help of others. It looks like Snarf's pointing it out, saying, get rid of that thing, and we're going to win this game. Looks like the vehicle battle on the outside is very, very close, but the attackers just one shot away from winning that, and you can see this map. It is already everywhere as the defense have a final few remaining players on C2, and quickly this map looking a little frustrating. Now, I will say, as much as the attack have been dominating, we've got to remember it is Victory Night. We only have 100 bots. It's not a crazy amount of time. We've got to capitalize on some of these pushes and start taking bullet points.
Yeah, it goes incredibly quick, and I fear if someone here takes the W on the attacking side, game 2 is going to be really interesting. You can just see, no matter what the defense was able to carve back on C2 for themselves, it's immediately being recapped there by Team Alpha. You can see we got the commanders calling in that very vital redeploy time. For the next 30 seconds, they will have shortened deployment time back in to keep the pressure on, which is so incredibly important.
Good shot. Right now, both contested. Last-ditch effort here from the defense to get back over to C1. The vehicle's going to help out with that. I believe that's a tank destroyer inside. A very powerful vehicle. So it's going to help out a ton. Going to open things up and give them a hair of breathing room. But right now, I would be holding my breath. Got an urgent backup deployment just about to end. This allows your players on their teams. Commander can call in now. Body players on your team will respond much quicker.
Cyclone.
Pushes or help the last efforts to defend
Rank.
position.
Mas sekarang.
But even still, as much as we've been
Bingung
dominating
Cok.
the attack, the defense has been scrapping by somehow, some way. And this building continues to get decimated and loses walls all over the place. Flag gets traded out there. Taking actually any help. All of NYXE is down. This is going to be a huge boon for the defense on C1. Down to 75. This game's not over.
I'm not gonna lie, that staircase has been one of the most fickle playgrounds I've seen for when it comes to Sector C. But G7 on your screen for Team Alpha still trying to make a play as well on the backs of NYXE. And here comes the chaos. Talk about all the explosions, the pressure from behind being provided by the vehicle. You can just see that heavy hitting artillery just keep on throwing it down the line into the buildings. Will Demons be able to make a play here? You can see some of that utility coming out from Tech, which has been really fun to witness. The flank comes in. Can we grab two? Get it now down the hallway, looking for any remainders. We're looking for a full clean house if we can.
G7 looking really strong and nice flank there to be able to pick up some goals and other things up. Another vehicle battle. These are funny. I mean, this is kind of threshold plays. This battle is comedic. It's just two vehicles on the map shooting each other over and over again, and it doesn't look like the attackers trade, but the tank destroyer comes in and tries to play clean up. He's able to do so. Maybe lose it in the process if John can get something down on it, but I may not have the right operator to do so. That tank destroyer
Apa engineer?
in somehow, some way, even though it's been on chaos and destination, the defense technically had both points partially, at the very least.
Coach, when you said 1v1s and win your 1s, were you thinking those isolated 1v1s vehicles?
No, not even kind of. This is such an odd way to take these fights. But both vehicles know that the way we win this is by having more vehicles on the map than the other person. So they want to chow that and take out the vehicles that they have the priority. Nice trades back and forth. Defense is stable this time.
Yeah, and they're goodbye to that vehicle on the inside here. And one of our ESG rosters got Grez. They're going to kind of dive on over towards Titan. Titan's going to be the commander for that team Bravo. So we've got to make sure that you're calming all the goodness from that area. Now, as I look at that Eternals Gaming roster, you do know that one of them did compete in Season 1 Season 1 under Immortals. And let me just tell you, they did really stellar. I believe they were one of the top performing teams on their initial squad. So maybe they didn't actually win Season 1 and they're coming back for vengeance.
I like that shot. Here's probably one of the last big pushes that the attacks could make. Moneyquid trying to save the day there, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to. The attack pushing over C1 and C2, trying to hold up. You see a full squad plus a couple over on C2, and everybody else defending C1. A guy is coming in likely for the attack. We'll see where it lands, but all I'm seeing is red on the left, red on the right. Who is potentially captured? Will our attack win? Will this guy doesn't change anything? And no, it's Sincere, of course it is. Able to pick up a single kill just to have all insult, injury, and victory for the attack. There was a moment there that I questioned what I thought was fun to watch and a little bit interesting. Not that I expected they knew they had to fight each other. It was absolutely a big role in this fight.
On as well. And then another member of G7 going through as well with 28. Those players alone are necessarily responsible for 100.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So even if Team Rogue, the Rogue is down, all of the pressure, you have those three players that are so incredibly important. And of course, you're able to grab 30 kills alongside 60 revives. That's nasty. I'm sorry. That is straight up insane.
It's really impressive, and I think looking over the right-hand side, obviously on our losing side, you're going to see a lot lower scoreboards, right? That's just the nature of the game. That's how. Chad, I want to hear who you think's going to win. Will it be a 2-game series, or will it go to game 3? What do you think? I don't know.
And they were on that winning team, so they have the experience. The change here, Titan is the new player to that roster, and he is our commander.
There's a look at our attack response. Of course, it's on the backside of the gas station for most of them, and then over on the left-hand side as well. And of course, we've got that heli, so we'll see how it all pays out for them as they swing over to the attacking side for the first time. Let's see if it's as dominant as their opponents are able to take, or if it's going to take them a while to get 3 point A. Because I said this right when we ended the last map, and I think it's a pretty important note. It's not necessarily about if you can take point A and B, it's about how fast you can take point A and B, how many lives you end up using. Because the defense had a great hold on C1 and C2 last time, they just couldn't hold it for long enough. So there's so many lives going into that one. So this is a quick look at our attackers trying to pick up some of the forward advanced players who have likely set up some tactical respawn beacons. See if you're able to get those respawn beacons to and also get some of these kills.
Yeah, definitely. Look, here we go. Hop on in. 5 HP. Doesn't matter. Still in a 1v2 situation. Industrial's going to have to bring up the backup. Data Knife's gonna go out, and we're still trying to lay low, get that health to regen, and find some moments of just peace. But not gonna have that when 2 are saying, no, someone's up there, but you know what else is up there? What the heli is a heli. And I'm super excited to see what they're going to bring to the table besides just staring up into the air, putting that pressure onto A. This is where you can see the importance of it, but we're gonna see it from the Team Alpha side of things on the receiving end.
Yeah, it's extremely important to keep your helicopter alive and your tanks alive while also creating some value. So you can see that helicopter playing pretty timid right now because, again, usually A is a decently easy point to tap, and you're going to need that helicopter to help with B1, make B1 extremely easy so that it's really just a fight for B2. Because we're seeing a lot from the strategies of a lot of these players. The helicopter doesn't really need to get very active at all besides just kind of shell the point wherever they can and really just make sure
wherever they can.
Couple of other rocket launchers. You know, well placed AT4 would be nice, but a pretty difficult task with the speed of that heli.
Going here, getting all the goods down. Look, I'm telling you, those recon operators imperative when it comes to success here on the Rexhold and play. We're just kind of going through the package, cooldowns on that detection arrow roll through. You do still have that one frag in pocket. It's going out. It's going to be connected, and now we're going to get all that information. We don't care if the engineers are going to try and bash us in with their shields if they can play. We are going to move around it, but check it out. Look who's in that missile. Trying to grab the heli if they can. It looks like Nori may have just missed out, but don't worry, we're going to fly around and see what we get. Not going to happen, but I'm not going to lie. The engineering side of things looks good on you. You pulled off from the Byron. So we saw
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Allure using their better missiles to try to weaken this helicopter and hopefully rip it out of the air. Very close on that one. Helicopter well piloted, able to dodge, and so far, attackers they've touched A, they've taken a little piece of it, but they aren't able to fully capture it down right now. Defense looking very strong and looking like they own the place still. Threshold may just be Team Alpha's map. Won the attack and now winning the defense thus far.
We're just picking them apart. We're just kind of roaming. That's kind of what we saw from our commander on Team Alpha when it came to it. We were just kind of picking those fights that kind of led us to finding a lot of success in terms of kill. But I mean, not picking anyone up. I think it's like 5 or 6 reses from game number 1. But that's okay because you're gathering information, you're looking for the pushes, and you're coordinating them throughout your other teams on Team Alpha. And that is the most important part. But now we're going to jump on board with the Syndicate. And let me just tell you, Mr. Wormy had 38 kills in game number 1. So a lot of time looking for those kills.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, the defense did a really good job of making sure that vehicles stay alive. I'm pretty sure they were able to cut down the helicopter, by the way, with the use of their vehicles. So now it's got a pretty big advantage inside the defense. I will say it looks like the attackers were able to get a transport vehicle in, and I think they still got their tank off in the distance, but not getting a ton of value out of things. It's kind of forced the attackers to start playing much more aggressive and at risk of losing some of their vehicles in order to at least capture this point and keep fighting another day. To watch out for that, you'll likely see their tank, if it does decide to push up, immediately be targeted by the defense. And something to pay attention to.
Yeah, something to pay attention to is they're down to 100 tickets, and we're not seeing a budge just yet. But this is where you're going to get that input from your commander to help with that. Looks like they're going to mark a high value objective. So your commanders are allowed to do several things in the Victory Unite mode, whether that is A, shorten the redeployment time for your team, or B, mark a high value object to get extra points for it, and kind of try to unite the entire team around that.
Yeah, I gotta say, Hipstate has picked up, I think, like 7 kills in the vehicle they're using, wiped another vehicle from the attacker side, and is maintaining a power position on the backside. Maybe finally got cut down, I'm not sure, but even still, got a ton of value. Now the defense, this is really reminiscent to what NYXC did last time, last Global League Series in Season 1. This is the exact same thing. NYXC on the defense now for this team. Obviously, Snarf, the commander, they had so much pressure that they eventually were able to push up to these front lines and essentially spawn trap the attackers. The attackers couldn't get any value, and it looks like they've got a bird in the air yet again. I don't know if they're going to get any value out of it. But it's not really will they, it's that they have to, Tiff. They've got to make an aggressive play here or they're going to be stifled. You can see, look at what the attackers are trying to do. They said, okay, we're spawn trapped on the gas station side. Let's swing all the way around the outside. It's going to be our only play to try to play kind of a flank on the defense and make a play for the point. But it looks like they're all being eliminated off to the right-hand side.
Hey, definitely are, but honestly, if you're for Run Esports, you're reeling in this, winning all alone in Delta Force Global League Season 1 alongside NYXC, kind of running it back, right? So you're looking for be the 2-time at this point in time, especially with $10,000 on the line, and G7 looking to join them if they can.
$10,000 on the line.
Making sure that we are breaking it down to 50 tickets almost. Just hanging in there. This is crazy. They're going to have to get as soon as possible. I don't know what that player's trying to do to the top ropes because Mr. Worky's like, nah, bro, I'm the one that has the height advantage usually.
That's exactly right. And a couple of heroes trying to make hero plays. The problem is there's just too many numbers. There's just too many defenders in the area. And this is brutal. I think Skate is really crushing it in the vehicle. You're seeing a ton of kills coming their way. The defense is repositioned on the backside of A, bodies on point. The helicopter's trying to help. Look at swirl through the sky, but it's just not getting a ton of value right now. Having to evade likely javelins and allure guided missiles. They need some AT-4 shots. They need a miracle right now. If I'm the attacker, I need to call in something. I don't know if we have enough score to do it yet. We've got to break through this front line of the defense. Right now, they are an iron wall.
Ooh, and even with the health going so low, we hold it together. That therapeutic pistol goes crazy before being ripped to shreds the moment you enter that small building. This is wild, Doge. We're down to 15. What do you do if you're looking told for the defense because Team Alpha right now is just too strong.
Yeah, what you do is you get risky with the vehicles. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're able to get a vehicle on the point, open things up for a moment, but then there's the risk of losing the vehicle. The problem is you got to take the risk. You just got to get on the point, and it doesn't look like the attackers have enough bodies, enough position to do it. They cannot make a move through this defensive curtain. This is unbelievable. Push from the defense, a great hold, a great trap. And I think we're going to end it right here in the very first point. Team Alpha is just a superior team. There's a late push, a late effort with 1 life remaining for the attackers team. We do go to overtime. The attackers are trying. This would be a unbelievable story that we would talk about for a very long time if they're able to win this map. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but they have enough bodies to win. It's really close. They get oh my goodness, in overtime. Is just about getting bodies on the point. They were able to do it. Good grief. We've got 60 lives going to B1 and B2. Is that going to be enough? I don't know. But the show goes on.
I mean, look, that was straight whack-a-mole trying to pull him off at A, and there was just nothing they could do. I was just watching it. It hits 50%. It keeps chugging. Next thing you know, they capture it. And I'm like, how is this even possible? How is Team Bravo making this work? I respect it. The fact of the matter is they did. Now we set our sights over to B1 and B2 with 60 lives. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but you know what? Life is hard. I've seen harder things, so I want to see them break it down.
What a great rallying cry for this team. Life is hard, but I've seen harder things. Let's push on forward. Anybody can do harder things. You set your mind to it. Let's see if our attackers have the right
Life is hard.
I've
seen a harder thing.
After a narrow, almost loss in this entire tournament. Folks, I gotta remind you, we only have 55 lives remaining for B1 and B2. For us to continue this competition at all as Neo gets taken down, the attackers have to win this map to force game 3. This is a single best of 3 for the finals. If the defense holds here, the defense wins the entire tournament. It looks like the attackers just barely catching the edge of B1, at least making sure that this is like a clean sweep on B1, B2.
I was going to say, that was a good hold for the initial. They took away 21 of those lives, which, if that's what they're going to get per push, you don't really have too many more efforts at it. So maybe you unite along the vehicle, bait out the defense's vehicle, because you see them there in hot pursuit, that 1v1. It's going to be important, and look at that. It is going to be the attacking side with the victory when it comes to the 1v1 vehicles.
And you gotta take the little wins where you can get them. I mean, hey, if you win the vehicle battle, you're at least gonna have some firepower. The problem is you're running out of daylight already. And of course, you only had 60 lives going to B1, B2, a very tall task. Got to start with B1. Obviously, this is a much more kind of linear point almost. So you need to find some footing past this choke point if you want any success to be able to try to take B2. Getting kind of choked out here with this 10 choke point, and they've got to push through, take B1. Keep some respawn beacons down so their team can spawn a lot closer so they can try to make a play for B2. Got a decent bit of footing on B1, but I don't think they've got enough bodies to actually capture it.
Alright, let's go back to free cam. Let's get an overlook at what we are witnessing in the setups here. Implosions, explosions, all of the above. Just that sheer chaos that you mentioned at the top of the show here for B1 and making things more difficult.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to get overtime on this one, Tiff. I'm going to be honest. It does look like the attackers have been able to swing around the left side and maybe they're going to go for B2 instead of B1, which is not a terrible idea, especially if they're artillery straight on B1. But I like the strategy. At least they're fighting for it, and right now, it's still possible.
Okay, Mr. Worthy, I see where you're getting those kills from in game number 1. You're making plays like this. Let's keep on moving throughout. You break the corner. He's already gone. Time to set your sights on. This is going to be a big moment here. So a couple players who just sheer out nowhere. Kind of unfortunate. You know what? 6 lives. Are they the overtime warlords? Is this their key to success? Do they thrive under that amount of pressure? Do they want to keep it for themselves? I don't know, but G7 is 4 lives away from being a winner here in Season 2.
Yeah, they found their way all the way to B2 and captured a point, but with only 2 lives remaining. Yes, we've got the urgent backup deployment active. It's going to be ending here at the end of the game because that is it, folks. As much as they put up a fight, Team Bravo taking down Team Alpha, your champions. They win map 1 on the attack. They done Zinhat over there on G7. Did pick up 29, was the most in this map. And an honorable mention there, of course, to for F John there, down a little bit lower. I mean, my eyes go to Snarf though here, Tiff. Commander, a fantastic player, but also top fragger, I believe, at 32 kills. I mean, I think we're seeing some of the individuals that have risen to the top of our categories.
I mean, absolutely not. But I was going to say, oh, captain, my captain at this point.
And then Snarf picked up top Slayer with 66 kills between two, again, fairly short games, both really impressive stat lines, and a big congratulations to both those teams for winning $500 apiece, Tim, but also an extra $500 for being part of Team Alpha. That's a $1,000 payday. Let's go.
Yeah, look, it had to be incredibly close, especially when you're looking at 66 kills from Snarf at 34 after game number 1. But you know your talent, the skill, the chemistry between y'all, because you also have to not only work within your team, but also.
And I think the flow really worked well for you guys. Break down the attack, though. I want to hear from you. Do you think your medic skills were one of the things that really helped you succeed? I mean, obviously a big part of it, but any specific things that worked really well for the overall team in the attack and why you were able to win on threshold?
I think it's definitely the medics. Since, well, me, I got 60 revives, I think, so it definitely helped our team.
Yeah, you got 60. I can confirm that. I think there was a couple other players that were at right around 20.
Well, what you stream, I mean, obviously you're streaming Delta Force and you're grinding. It's pretty dang good at it, but then hope you continue to make your name for yourself here in the Delta Force community. You're crushing it, and good luck with everything else.
Thank you. Much love.
Cheers. Well, Sin here in the booth again. The top 5 Slayer, the top.
Main-main. Saya tain stream saya dulu.
Saya